You are listening to Star Nations Radio Network. Communications from home on Blog Talk Radio.
Welcome to the Paul Crouse Show on the Star Nations Radio Network.
Hi everybody, welcome to the February 2016 edition of the Paul Crouse Show on the Star Nations Radio Network, where we talk with a broad range of international guests about living life better and making a difference in our rapidly changing world. Today we are at Shunkoin Zen Buddhist Temple here in Kyoto, Japan, to talk with Reverend Takafumi Kawakami, and the title of our show is What the is Zen? But first, let me say a little bit about myself. My name is Paul Crouse, and I'm a personal advisor based here in Kyoto. I help people who want to consciously change their lives for the better. I help them sort out their insides, slay their dragons, figure out what it is they really want to do, and guide them to get from here to there. I do this through spiritual guidance, healing, and coaching, all spoken in regular English. I do this worldwide via internet video calling or face-to-face here in Kyoto or wherever I happen to be standing at the moment on our big, wonderful planet. You can reach me through my website, which is paulcrouse.com. That's Crouse, spelled with a C, C-R-O-U-S-E. Or you can also search for tootallpaul.com. That's right, tootallpaul.com. Operators are not standing by. I'm 6'5" or nearly 2 meters tall, so Too Tall Paul was my college nickname. tootallpaul.com. And when you get a chance, make sure to have a listen to some of the other great shows we have here on the Star Nations Radio Network. You can listen to the shows live or anytime in the archive. Just go to starnations.org, starnations.org. And you can listen to any of my past shows at any time on my website at paulcrouse.com/radio-show, or just click on the top. It says Radio Show. Now that we've got that out of the way, I'd like to introduce my guest. He is Reverend Takafumi Kawakami, who is the Deputy Head Priest here at the Shunkoin Zen Buddhist Temple in Kyoto. Good morning.
Morning. It's nice to be here.
Great. It's nice to be here, too. It's your place. So.
That's right.
By the way, so what should I address you? Reverend Kawakami? Reverend Taka?
Taka's fine.
Taka? All right, yeah. Taka. All right.
Mm-hmm.
So, just for our listeners, we're at, could you tell us a little bit just about the surroundings we're in?
So this Shunkoin temple here, this was established in 1590. So
1590, okay.
So we have a 120 years of history here. Then we are part of a huge temple complex called Myoshinji.
Okay, Myoshinji.
Temple. Then this Myoshinji temple, have a much longer history here. It's established in 1337. And then actually we have 38 sub-temples. And all the building around here established around 300 years ago. So in a way that you be here, it's surrounded by all the histories of Kyoto. But at the same time, we have easy access to downtown, all kind of things. So it's an amazing part of Kyoto too. You see the modern part and the historical part. Just a minute, just walk. You can feel the 1,000 years of history here. Yes.
It's a very large temple complex. And when you walk through the gate, it's like walking back in time, as you say, 1,000 years, 500 years, except for some of the cars parked around.
Oh, yeah,
but still,
right,
it looks like that's one of the really wonderful things about living here in Kyoto. So Taka, how did you become a Zen priest?
Well, this is actually my family tradition, too. My father, he is still the head priest of this temple.
Okay.
And also my grandfather was the head priest, my great-grandfather was, and then so on. So I'm actually fifth generation in my family taking care of this temple. But
okay.
I was not intended to become Zen priest in the beginning. I was kind of against that kind of idea. Well, actually, my parents never forced me to taking over this family tradition, but just my interest. I was studying social psychology in college, but I switched my major to religious study. especially I was focused on studying religious conflict, and then that's kind of made me really interested in religion again.
Okay.
Then just why not just go the both way, not just the academic way, but I just want to also have actual practice. So that's why I went to monastery 1 year, and then came back here, became actually Zen priest at this temple.
Okay, where was the monastery?
Monastery was up north in Japan called Zuiganji Monastery, so it's in the Miyagi Prefecture.
Was that difficult?
Well, most difficult part was coldness. I mean, it's cold. It really is up north in Japan. It's like 5 degrees below the freezing point. So it's really cold, and I used to live in Arizona. I went to college in Arizona, so that's why just dealing with the temperature is different. But also, in a way, the isolation from outside, that's actually a major part as well. No internet, no TV, no newspaper, so feel like you're completely left alone from the outside world. So that's probably one of the hardest parts.
So what was the regimen like in the monastery? Like, for example, you got up early and meditated, or? Well, depending on the season, on the training season, we the summertime, for instance, we wake up average probably about 4 a.m. Then do the morning chanting, and then do the maintenance of monastery. Then normally doing the maintenance the whole morning. Then afternoon, do the meditation, that's normal, but also retreat time is even earlier. During the retreat, we have 7 major retreats in a year. Then summertime one, probably you have to wake up 3:30 a.m. And then pretty much you meditate the whole day. Then in a way that we can go to bed, bed in the quotation mark, because it's not really comfortable bed or anything, just flat futon, and then just sleep in the meditation room anyway. So we can go to bed around 11, so almost no sleep. Then winter time is a bit easier because waking up a little bit later, probably about 5 a.m. But you have to deal with coldness. That's really the hardest part as well. Okay. So you've been a Zen priest then for how long?
So went to monastery 2005, then 1 year training, then technically 2005 I became Zen priest, but still I was in the monk in training, and then I got officially ordained. I became the deputy head priest of this temple in 2007, so about 10 years, I should say. Yeah.
Do you have a family?
I have a family. I have a wife. I have a daughter.
How old's your daughter?
My daughter's almost 4 years old.
Okay.
And then my wife from States, so we kind of struggling how we raise, this bilingual, bicultural, amazing being in a way. So,
okay.
Yeah.
And so you went to the States because your English is quite good. I think I used to be an English teacher here in Japan, so I've had quite a few experiences with it. Also, so you went to school at Arizona State?
I went to Arizona State, yeah.
Okay. And why did you decide to go to school overseas?
Well, my father involved in some international Buddhist activities when he was younger. Then also he had a friend in Hawaii. He's still the head priest of a temple in Maui as well. And then I went to Hawaii when I was younger. Then also I had a chance to spend 2 weeks in Washington State as an exchange student in the high school. Actually, more for like a focus on track and the field, but I was there in the high school. Then I kind of started having interest in the United States.
Okay, good, good. So as we were talking before we started this, we were trying to come up with a name of what this show was going to be about, as we talked about quite a few things. And so we came up with, so your temple, actually the way that you and I met, I also have a side job where I work as a photographer, and quite a few people have very small weddings here at your temple, which in Japan is usually people don't get married in Zen temples. There's usually the Shinto wedding or the sort of fake Christian weddings in the hotels. So firstly, what got you started to doing the weddings? And
so living in the States and seeing that some of my friends got married in a Buddhist temple in the U.S., so I thought about it. Well, why not? Then also I got a request from several people who came here for the meditation class from different countries, and they want to have a wedding in Japan because they have so much good memory from Japan. Some of them are exchange students, some of them lived in Japan for a while, or they just simply love Japan. So then I got so many requests from those people, so that's why I wanted to just offer some wedding service here too. Okay, great.
And you also do weddings irregardless if it's a heterosexual wedding or a homosexual wedding, or
basically wedding's wedding. That's my idea. This marriage equality. That's my idea. I don't want to distinguish it to LGBT wedding or just straight couple wedding. I don't really distinguish. Just wedding's wedding. So just want to celebrate those couples.
Okay,
so that's
good.
my idea.
Okay, and having observed quite a few of his weddings, he does it very well, and I really like the vibe here in this temple. So Kyoto is a major international tourist destination, and a lot of people, there are certain temples that are more like tourist spots, and I don't know if they're actually really actively working, and sometimes they're really pristine, whereas there's a real lived-in feeling here. And also you do the ceremony directly in the, I don't know what you would call that room. In a Christian church, they would call that room a sanctuary. The main temple room.
Just a ritual room. In Japanese, a hondo, but
hondo.
Called a ritual room. Yeah.
Okay, so that's called a hondo even as opposed to the big hondo out in the front.
Oh yeah, I mean that's different. Yeah.
Okay, different kanji. Okay, kanjis are the Chinese characters. Okay, well that's great. So again, we were talking about when we first started talking about what the heck is Zen? So you also talked about you have some meditation classes, and many foreigners come through your temple primarily because you speak very good English and you're open to them. And you also mentioned how many people have, many I would say North Americans have heard the word Zen and kind of have an idea in their head what it means, but it's not necessarily.
I think Zen is really kind of commercialized.
Okay. Hollywood Zen,
or those this really stereotypic, I don't know how to say, but just really interested in this Zen image. I mean, sometimes people work in some environment, like in a temple, the people say, "Oh, this is so Zen," or some garden. It's people say, "Oh, so Zen," but I just wonder about what that so Zen means. I just really wonder about it. I think there's something like spirituality, there's a yoga things, all things kind of mixed. So that's why people have some images about Zen, like stereotype of Zen right now.
From my background, when I was younger, what I thought was Zen, because I didn't know what it meant. Part of it is just the word itself looks good, the Z-E-N and the sound of it, and there's this exotic quality about it, and there's this because there's the cone thing, the question that you can't answer, all of those sort of things, and so it has this sort of mysterious,
mystic image,
the mystic image, and this sort of quality of you don't really know what it means.
That's the thing. People kind of attracted to things they don't know, but they're using the word. It kind of sounds funny to me.
Sure. And then, that's really, and also then the marketers took it over,
marketers use that one for a Zen yoga, Zen massage, and then we don't know what is Zen yoga, what is Zen,
it's so Zen-y.
People often say it. I mean, I saw that one book and I picked it up and they said this is Zen yoga, and then this guy said, "Oh, Zen. I can't really explain what Zen is, but why use the title Zen Yoga? Why? If you can't explain, don't use it."
Kind of mixing metaphors too. Well, so Zen Buddhism is a sect or denomination of Buddhism.
Yeah.
And Buddhism, like say, for example, the word Christianity, there's many different sects or denominations. I'm going to be careful with the word sect. In American English, sect means like a denomination or different kind of a specific religion. In British English, the word sect typically means like a cult. So I'm going to be very careful with that word for our international listeners because the cult thing, that's another show. So, like there's Catholic Christians, there's Baptists, there's Mormons. In Buddhism, it's the same thing.
But Buddhism, I think there's more diversity, extreme diversity, because unlike a Judeo-Christian or Abrahamic religion, originally Buddhism didn't have any deity. So Buddha was a human. So didn't have this notion of perfect God, Yahweh, or Allah. So in a way, so that's why more flexible in a way, because when the Almighty is already perfect, it's really hard to change perfect being. So, of course, the change happened in Abrahamic religion too, but Buddhism didn't have this notion of Almighty being. So that's why it's more flexible. It's localized more. Also changed by time, space. I think that's the way.
Could you just very succinctly just tell us the story of Buddha, of Siddhartha Gautama?
Well, Siddhartha Gautama, in the legend, he was actually an Indian prince. But he was isolated in a castle. So, actually, father was really. So when Siddhartha Gautama, he was born. One of the. I don't say he's immortal. He's some practitioners. Some spiritual guru came to the castle and tell him that he's gonna be the king of the world. Okay. But king doesn't mean he's gonna be the king, as you know.
Royalty, monarch. Yes.
Monarch. So then he was afraid that he's gonna lose his son as his successor. So that's why he isolated him in a castle.
His father isolated him, protected him in the castle.
Protected him in a way that doesn't expose to the death or disease or anything negative. Okay. But Siddhartha Gautama went out, sneak out of the castle when he became a teenager. Then he saw all the suffering. Okay. Like people die on the street and people see the disease there, suffering the disease, all kind of suffering outside. That's why he tried to actually eliminate the suffering from other people. So he went to the a field, and then he started practicing with other practitioners. Okay,
ascetics.
Ascetics, yeah.
Yes, ascetics are the people who sort of reject the material world and.
Yeah, but he found out that those doing extreme training doesn't make him overcome all the suffering. So he found out the middle path. Basically, treat himself well, eating good food, and then, treat himself well, and then he started meditating. Then he found, in the story, he said he got enlightened.
Enlightened into the Bodhi tree, yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, and one thing I had read before, a good way of the middle path, was a couple of descriptions of it, was, for example, the string on like a violin. If it's too weak, if it's too loose, it doesn't play, and if it's too tight, it snaps. Yeah. So to find that right tension gets the right note. Yeah. Or even another way, if you take a stone and throw it up in the air, there's a point where it's neither going up or going down. It's there. Yeah. It's just there. Which, when we start thinking about this, is like, what the heck did that all mean? Okay. So then Buddha. So for also some words, the word Buddha is like the word Christ. It's a title, not his name. Yeah, not a personal name. Especially I think in West, people misunderstand with this happy Buddha. Yeah. Actually, he's not a happy. He's a fat guy in a Chinese restaurant. Yeah. He's not actually Buddha. I mean, it's called, his name is actually Buddha. Buddha. Or in Japanese, Hote. Okay. Yeah. So he's a fat guy. And that was a sort of a Chinese god of abundance. Yeah.
But also, he was in history. He was considered as a Zen priest.
Oh, really?
Yeah. So that is actually one historical guy became more like the legendary figure.
Okay. So So Buddhism came originally from India, and then it was imported into China, and then Zen Buddhism came from China to Japan.
Yeah. But Zen in the 6th century, in the beginning of Zen was considered around 6th century in China, because Buddhism became too it's like more like scholarly subject.
Okay.
Then people most focus on the studying of sutras and rely on the sutra too much. So that's why actually Zen, some of the priests actually started having doubt. Is that the way the Buddha got enlightened?
Okay. Sutras, by the way, are the religious writings in Buddhism.
Buddhism, yeah. So then one of the original idea about Zen Buddhism was, taking the same step of Buddha. Well, which is meditation. So that's why we emphasize meditation, seated meditation. Then actually, the word Zen literally means seated meditation.
Okay.
So then Zen Buddhism is a Buddhist sect which actually mainly focus on the seated meditation practice.
Okay.
So that's why we call ourselves Zen Buddhist.
Okay. So what the heck does Zen mean? It means seated meditation.
Yeah.
Okay. So another way of saying sit down and shut up.
In a way.
In a way. That's really succinct. What did Buddha say? Sit down and shut up. It works. I think he's like, the teacher, no, just sit down, just shut up, just shut.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. So in the modern world, so we live in this world of rapidly accelerating change. And we get bombarded, I personally, and I think everybody else gets overloaded with information, a lot of which is dubious at best. And I think a lot of people are attracted to Zen Buddhism because it isn't so much about, as you said, a dogma or the religious writings as actually doing. I think one of the attractions of Buddhism is that it's a specific path of self-improvement. Because there are other religions that are not paths of self-improvement. For example, Shinto is a religion of you're praying to a god to please God there's no typhoon this year because I need a good rice crop, or otherwise. Not to criticize it, but it's just a different
type of religion.
It's just a different type of religion. So for people in the modern world, what are ways that people can live their lives better from this Zen Buddhist point of view?
First of all, Zen teaches us to remove all the stereotypes.
Okay, remove the stereotypes.
Stereotype of the world. In a way that we all have this schema, in a way that this mental category in your brain, in your mind. So in a way that when you hear the word Zen priest, you probably ultimately thinking about those guys sitting, meditating a whole day, wearing black robe, or kind of thing. Probably you think about that one. Or when you hear a word like American, well, what kind of stereotype you have. But in a way that's just about stereotype. You have to remove that one to see the thing as weighty, hear the thing as weighty. That's actually the Zen teaching.
See the things the way that it is, hear the things the way that it really is.
Yeah.
Not that we have it in the way we have it in our head.
Yeah. So in a way that we always use this, stereotype. I mean, it saves your energy and time because it's shortcut to understand what's going on around us. But at the same time, stereotype is a filter in your mind. Okay. So you don't see the thing as what it is. So that's an issue. But many people think that our perception is absolute, but that's not true.
It's relative.
It's relative.
That's Einstein.
Yeah. It is. I mean, that's why. Talk about Einstein, but I normally recommend people to read Theory of Relativity.
The Theory of Relativity. Okay.
To understand this concept called no subjectivity in Buddhism. Basically, this concept called no subjectivity means good and bad are all in your head. Main source of suffering is your subjective point of view. In a way that, we try to judge everything to be good or bad, but we're just comparing, even like person or some event with your ideal situation. So that's why we say, that's good, that's bad. But it's all in your head. Because another way of saying it is, it just is. Yes. Things just exist. Yeah, it's there. And maybe the Zen point of view, you can correct me if I'm wrong, but my view of it is, it just is, and the part of the path is just
observe that. Because we have these conditioned responses that Pavlovian ring the bell, feed, the dog drools. So if we look at things the way that they are, as opposed to the way that we want them to be, and then don't react, but then choose to act or not act. Does that sound about right?
Yeah.
Okay.
Because also normally also we use these things called confirmation bias.
Yes.
Then we just only see the convenient things for ourselves, or like belief, things that support your belief. But it, in a way that's once again that's going to be your mental filter. So you cannot see the thing as what it is anymore.
So in many ways, the confirmation bias being the thing is, you can see this a lot, like on Facebook or whatever social media. People just looking for something that reinforces their ideas. So, for example, with politics, they tend to read all of the things that agree already with the way, as opposed to challenging themselves and thinking about, well, this other person's point of view, because that would be, that's the whole relativity thing comes from, well, it's the person's point of view. If you look at it from the south side, it looks one way, but if you look at it from the north side, it looks differently. That's
exactly what we need right now too, because in a way because we know, like you mentioned, this social media, in a way, because we only see the convenient part. So it's so easy because back then it was the newspaper, TV. Well, also those TV shows are also really biased right now too.
Of course.
Well, Fox News. I mean, sorry that I have to mention it, but
that's not news.
It's not news. It's like an entertainment show to me at least. But any media right now have some bias, and they just try to show the convenient part for their targeted audience in a way. So I think in a way, social media is especially like that. So that's why you can see that polarization in society. If you're looking at the U.S. politics, really, or basically,
But it's happening all over the world too.
Well, in a way, it's not, but in a way that right now this presidential debate, or kind of thing. I think that's a good example. If you can see.
I have like a stream of 5 different things going off in my head with what you said. So getting back to the perspective, just looking at things from a perspective, there's a story that I once heard where I think is really good to describe it, whereas 5 blind people have to describe an elephant. We'll take it down to 3 people. 3 blind people have to see an elephant, and the elephant's large, and they can only touch the elephant. So one person comes to the back and touches the tail, and they're like, oh, well, it's kind of really hairy. And then another person touches one of the legs, and, oh, well, it's just big and kind of rough-skinned. And then another person in the front touches the nose, and, oh, it's this nose. It's like a big snake, but it moves around, and it breathes. Each one of the person is correct from their point of view, but they only have a limited point of view from the perspective from where they happen to be standing at that moment.
Even talking about the color, for instance, if you one person looking at one apple, and it's red, but each person has a different type of red. But also, just according to some data, 2 billion people are colorblinded. There's some issue with their color. So, in a way that not many people see the apple the same color. Same thing, you can say that for everything.
Actually, as a photographer, I'll take a step further. Red doesn't exist. Because all it is the reflection and absorption of light based upon the chemical composition of that object, here the apple, and, as you said, the sensor receptors in our head. If you're colorblind, you can't see that that's red. But the red doesn't exist. If you put a different filter, like a kind of some glasses on it, that might look orange. So in reality, that red color doesn't exist, and that's basic physics. The thing is that we all agree, or most of us agree, that color is red, and so we have this cultural bias that reflection and absorption of light is what we believe to be red, but it really doesn't exist.
No.
Is the way. And then that's where people get a little bit, what? But coming back to taking it to a grounded place, a practical place, that we have to be careful of what we're looking at because of our subjectivity.
Yeah,
we think it's this, but is it really?
Yeah, that's why, in a way, that modern day life, we have so many situations and we get stressed and frustrated. So, in a way, is that actually making you frustrated with, adding you more stress? You need to kind of think about it. You need to see the issue from different angles. Even like a person there or, some event adding you stress or making you frustrated. You need to kind of step aside and see the things from different perspectives. That's really important.
So now you have an excellent TEDx talk on YouTube. If you look it up, Reverend, so we put Takafumi
Kawakami at TEDx Kyoto.
TEDx Kyoto on Taka. So Kawakami, Kawakami. Yeah. Reverend Takafumi, and it's a great talk. You could probably put TEDx Kyoto and mindfulness.
Normally pops up.
Yeah, it usually pops up on Google. So, can we talk a few moments about mindfulness, and we even talk about the words about mindfulness and so forth, and then maybe also let's talk a little bit about meditation and what is the purpose of meditation. Okay. Pick one of these two, whichever one.
Well, in a way, the meditation, many people try to achieve something during the meditation, or actually sometimes people using meditation to solve some issues in their everyday life. But personally, it's not the right approach in a way, because first of all, meditation is not magic bullet. So it's not like when you're doing meditation, you're solving all the issues in your life. It's not like that. It's more about, it's about conditioning of your mind.
Conditioning of your mind, okay.
So in a way that, by doing meditation, you can actually calm down yourself, and also when you calm down, you can keep your open-mindedness. Because when you're under stress or you're frustrated, we tend to develop narrow-minded, perspective. So that happens. So in a way that making yourself calm, then when you are calm, you can see the world more objectively.
Okay.
So in a way, this is just conditioning your mind that you can see the thing more objectively. What I mentioned about non-subjectivity. Then you can see the thing as the way it is, hear the thing as the way it is. So that's actually the meditation. So it's not about achieving something during the meditation. Many people actually have I don't say wrong notion about the enlightenment, but people are actually blinded by the word enlightenment. People think that if you achieve there, then you suddenly become something else. But in a way, that Zen's case, enlightenment is not like some special stage or state you achieve there. You keep being there. It's not like that way. I mean, enlightenment in Zen's case is just to notice. Notice about what's going on around you as way it is. Okay. So, or you understand about concept of non-permanency. Everything is impermanent through your office work or cooking or cleaning. That's also enlightenment. And then the enlightenment is just temporal thing. So then that means enlightenment can happen many times a day or many times in your life.
Okay. That's a very good point here because I know there's many different kinds of meditation and so forth, but from my experience with meditation, a lot of my training of meditation came through doing vipassana. I don't know if there's a vipassana in Kyoto, but I've also practiced some other kinds of meditation, and a lot of times I think very simple things work too, but nonetheless, the idea of kind of one point of view is sort of getting your mind to stop, to slow down, or to just not think, or to observe the thoughts going by. Like I was working with someone last night where we're like, imagine the thoughts going by as just being a movie screen, and you're just watching it, and not kind of grabbing the thought but letting it go by, and then eventually, if I get in a good meditation, the thinking kind of stops for a bit, and then it goes back again.
Well, that's one thing too. Many people misunderstand the concept of no mind. Many people try to empty their mind, try not to think during the meditation. But when they try not to think, in that case, you actually still judging your thought.
Okay.
So your subjective point of view is still there. So that means that you are not actually, having this state of no mind. Actually, no mind means, like you mentioned, it's like you're just observing yourself and surroundings, non-judgmental way. So that's a state of no mind.
Okay. So state of no mind. Because I also think that a lot of people, the idea of when I was younger, when I first heard the word enlightenment, I thought it was this, because we also have in the Western tradition the period called the Enlightenment, which came after the 1700s or whatever through science. But that it was just sort of like this aha moment, this like the idea. No, go ahead.
But aha moment, but in a way that in enlightenment, that means noticing about even the Western philosophy definition of enlightenment. Just notice about fact, what's going on around us. Without those following what authority tells you what to do or what the fact is. So in a way that we're questioning, and here it's kind of the same way. You question your subjective point of view.
Which means another way of saying it is sort of like challenge your egoic
point of view. Yeah.
So
try to see the thing as what it is. So in a way that Western perspective of enlightenment, what Western philosophy definition of enlightenment commonly used in the 18th century, is exactly the same as Zen and enlightenment. But today's case, if you go to Google and Google image search, you see the crazy image about the enlightenment. Some people that like radiating light from the forehead or some like aura or whatever. I don't know what's going on there, but it's just like this kind of wrong image about enlightenment, at least to me.
Okay. I understand that. We're gonna step a little bit farther from that. Meditation is sort of like training. It is for your mind, or training for your.
You can actually separate so many different ways. Actually, in the modern, like science, in a way, if you use modern science, you can actually categorize meditation so many different ways. I mean, it can be the relaxation, can be the conditioning, can be the training for your mind. So you can actually categorize it. Depending on how long you do it, how you do it, that's really changed that, that's purpose in a way too. I mean, I say that purpose, but in a way, this, if you have this in mind, if you this idea, I need to achieve something, actually that stays in your mind, and then that's not a good way to do the meditation. But, just simply just sit down, sit up straight, and then just, feeling your breathing. That's it.
Feeling your breathing.
That's it. I mean, feeling your breathing, but with some modern understanding, you can actually have a longer exhaling time than inhaling time. That really helps you to relax you more. But having good relaxation means you can have this good objective point of view.
Okay, you said so a longer inhaling time and exhaling time.
Yeah.
Okay, technique.
In my case, normally inhale slowly for like 5 seconds and exhale slowly for 10 seconds or even longer. But basically, the idea here, exhaling time is twice as long as your inhaling time. I mean, today is a wonderful world. We can actually study meditation with neuroscience.
Okay.
Then, but some people say that science is removing all the spirituality from meditation, but. Well, if people keep saying such kind of thing, denying those studies in a way that, people still believe the earth is flat. Well, no offense for those conservative Christians, but it's the same thing to believe in, creation story as a fact.
Right.
Yeah.
The meditation, I got 5,000 things going through my head. Questions I want to ask you. A lot of times what I found so from time, so we talked a little bit about Einstein, the time, there's really just now. The past is in the past. It doesn't exist anymore, and the future doesn't exist yet. We just have now. So it seems to me that a lot of times the being mindful is paying attention to what's happening in front of us at this moment. Or another way of saying it is paying attention to our life as it happens, and looking at it from you're talking about from this trying to have this objective point of view, which actually is the scientific method, is a way of trying to observe the world from an objective point of view, taking into account that human beings are inherently subjective, right? But to pay attention, it's sort of like. So we have here, what's this stick called on the wall, by the way? There's a large stick.
Well, this is called keisaku in Japanese, and in English, most of the cases, people could call that one stick of compassion.
Stick of compassion, and how is that used?
For instance, during the meditation, somebody starts losing their concentration, or they want to switch the legs because they do it in half lotus or lotus position. So normally they take this gassho pose, or
hands. Like a prayer position in front of the heart.
Then this one of a person during in the meditation class. Normally, a meditation teacher or basically observing other practitioners, and then they come in front of you, and depending on the Rinzai tradition or Soto tradition. So there are two different traditions in Zen Buddhism. Rinzai tradition's case, they hit you from the front. So they hit you back, basically.
From the front, okay.
So
they hit you with the stick.
Then the Soto's case, in a way that you are facing, when you do the meditation, you're facing wall, so they hit you from the back.
Okay.
Back, your back.
And so what is the purpose of...
Well, the idea there is kind of bringing back your attention to the present moment. But also there's actually other meaning there because, removing your attention from back and neck as well. So that's one as well.
Okay.
Yeah.
Because you talked about, because there is a part of the thing of, you talked about, with Zen Buddhism, it's usually very important, the posture is very important. There's a Zen temple I often take some clients to photograph them, and there's a Zuiho In temple in Daitokuji. I don't know if you've been there. It's got a great garden.
Yeah.
But there's also I like going there because the head priest he's an old guy, and he's really nice and funny, and he always walks up. He's got his folding fan, and he always makes jokes with me because I have a shaved head quite like his, and then he smacks me in the belly and says, "Suck in your gut," and then smacks me in the back, "Stand up straight." And then usually he sits everybody down and teaches them meditation really quickly. But where I was going with this, so that's bringing us back. So part of the hitting is bringing us back into the present moment because our minds want to go somewhere else. Right. So what's so magical about being in the present moment?
Well, normally we're constantly thinking about different things. We're having conversation, but maybe like here, we're doing this radio interview, but probably our mind is somewhere else, unfortunately. But that's normal. I mean, when you're dealing with, when you're talking to your wife or kids, but your mind is somewhere else too. But in a way that, when your mind is somewhere else, you're not enjoying the moment, you're not there. But also, you're constantly worried about something you don't need to. I mean, something already happened in the past, or, things never happened in the future yet, and you actually still worry about that one. So, it's kind of a waste of time, too.
It's a waste of time. Worry is a waste of time.
Yeah.
I recently saw this movie. It was quite good. It was a Steven Spielberg movie. I think it's called Bridge of Spies, and it's about this. It's in the Cold War days in the 1950s, and there was a guy named Francis Gary Powers who was a spy pilot who got shot down over the Soviet Union, and then most of the movie is about this Soviet spy who gets caught. And this guy's he's actually quite Zen. He's quite being in the moment and doesn't freak out about anything. He gets arrested, and he calmly goes up and destroys the evidence while the FBI agents are doing this stuff. And anyway, the way the movie goes, Tom Hanks' character has to become his defense attorney because he has to have some attorney, and they picked him. He didn't really want to do it. And as they're going through the trial, this actually comes up a few times in the movie. At the trial, they're talking about they're going to execute this Soviet spy, and the spy's just sitting there kind of really super calm. And Tom Hanks looks at him and goes, "Don't you worry about anything?" And to which the spy looks back at him and says, "Would that help? Would that help to be worried?" Because to the spy's point of view, it really doesn't help to worry.
Exactly. That's the thing. Worry is coming from inside of you. Actually, things doesn't exist, but you're creating those worries by yourself. So that's why being present is really important as well. Things happen in the past, you can't change your past anymore. Well, depending on how you think about the theoretical physics, but but you can't change your past. So it's already happened. Then in a way that now the moment, you can actually create a change.
Right.
Because you can only do something at this moment. You cannot do something in the future which has never happened yet, and also past you cannot change it. So that's why, in a way but also interesting point is your present creating your past and the future. Because what do you do right now, but what do you do right now, but second later that's already in past.
Right.
But also, what do you do right now here influences your future. So that's why, in a way, that being present is the most powerful thing.
That the present moment. There's a guy named. There's a sort of mystical writings. This guy named Seth. Make a long story short, I won't go into so much about Seth, but his whole thing was the present moment is the point of power. That right now is just exactly what you said. And it was that now, what happens now, you can change your past and the future by right now, and that has to do with your attitude. Mm-hmm. So if you're stuck in I was hurt and these people bothered me, or all this happened to me, poor me, well, you're not living in the present, you're living in the past. Mm-hmm. But if you want to make this change for the future, you got to do it from now, from this moment. This is where because this is all that exists.
All that exists right now.
Because life is just a series of these moments.
So that's why there's something interesting I think I was just reading about the New Year's resolution. It's fun to think about future, but you're not doing anything. I mean, thinking about the future is exciting. You can be so optimistic. And also, you feel like you have more control over, something. I mean, for instance, many people postpone something to next day. Because, people believe that you next day is like superhuman. But today, I'm not. I'm just me. But, in a way that you think about, future as more optimistic way, but it's not real. You have to be more realistic. So in a way that, you have to do things right now.
And so that the beauty in life comes from the moments of now. Yeah. So there was sort of these, we talked about people using the Zen word in incorrect ways, but it's sort of like, so I had heard once where somebody talks about the dry garden, or people call it the Zen garden, the raking, that will be the rake, meaning you're paying attention to your raking and not anything else, because you have to, for one, you have to pay attention or it's not going to look very good. Oh, yeah. So that's part of the training.
Part of the training, yeah. Zen garden, many people think about we meditating from Zen garden, but actually raking is really important. You brought out this raking, but raking, in a way, it's really kind of simple thing, but it's really hard to make the, straight line, because you cannot really kind of worry about what you've done, all these lines, zigzag right now, I have to make it correct. If you worry something like that, you cannot make a straight line anymore. But also, if you worry about, oh God, I need to make a perfect line back over there too. If you're thinking about the future, you cannot make it neither. You have to just be there, just be right. That's the kind of idea. Yeah.
So if you're going to eat, then eat. Yeah. If you're gonna write your story, write your story. And if you're gonna smoke that cigarette, smoke the cigarette, as opposed to. So everybody's like, oh my God, he's encouraging smoking. It's like, well, if you're gonna do it in a conscious way as opposed to an addictive way, which is you're being compulsive, you're not in control of it. There's something else inside of you that's controlling you, whether you want to call it a demon or you want to call it your subconscious, whatever.
We'll call it dopamine.
Call it dopamine, whatever you want, whatever point of view you want to look at it. It's still, okay, if you're going to smoke, then enjoy that damn cigarette. Oh, excuse my French. That darn cigarette. We have a few more minutes left. You've had, let's just switch gears here. Because you're an English-speaking Zen priest in Kyoto, which is an international tourist destination. You've gotten to meet quite a few famous people, or people have come in here. And do you have any interesting stories you can tell us about people you've met, or even just regular folks?
Well, interesting part is that I have a lot of mathematicians coming here.
Mathematicians, okay.
Yeah.
Why?
Because in a way that mathematics is being so objective, but also at the same time, mathematicians are really interesting. They try to find formula for the world.
A formula for the world, okay.
What's going on? They try to understand what's going on in the world. But, sometimes they hit the wall, they find something like Zen or religion. It's really interesting. But also, I had lots of, interesting people came. Maybe just one of them, William Shatner. Well, he didn't come. I went to meet him in a different place. But
what was he like?
He was really relaxed. Captain Kirk. Yeah, he was really relaxed, but he was really into meditation. But also, really good point is he's really happy. He's not really frustrated. Normally, lots of famous people I met, they're frustrated all the time. They're not happy because they always try to make things as what they want, the way they want. But he was not like that. He just something goes wrong. It's okay. Just do it. Kind of idea. He was so zen in a way. I don't think many people think that William Shatner is so zen, but he's super zen in a way.
Okay, good.
I love him. Yeah.
Did you ever see the movie Shakespeare in Love?
A long time ago. Yeah.
There's a certain there was a character who's the guy who ran the theater. I think what's his name? Jeffrey, whatever, Australian actor did it. But all this stuff kept going wrong, and people kept going up to him. At the magic moment, things just worked out. And some people would always ask him, why does this happen? He goes, I have no idea, but it just does. Because he was just stressed. Everybody's stressed out. He's just kind of like going through life like the fool. You know the fool in the tarot card? Yeah, that's a great thing. Is the fool just shows up. It's like actually, I think one of the great Zen characters is the fool is Forrest Gump. He's a simpleton, but he lives totally from his heart. But he just shows up and does whatever he needs to do, and then tells a story about it. I had to go to the White House again.
Well, it's like this. He just being in the moment. He just doing his best. He's present in each moment. So that's why he's doing well. That's in the movie. I love that movie too. Yeah. So. I mean, you can see that, similar character in the Zen story as well. So basically, they're not smart or anything, but they're just two boys. They're just being there, being the moment.
What was the Zen story I heard? Actually, we're going to go all the way to 60. We'll go all the way to the end here. There was a Zen story. I'm sure I'm messing it up, but there's like a Zen priest and his student, and they're walking down the road, and apparently these priests had some sort of, they weren't supposed to touch a woman. They took on a vow never to touch a woman. And it had rained the night before, and the river, the stream they were going to cross suddenly becomes quite a big torrent of water. And there was a woman who's got these big heavy bags at the riverside, and she can't get across, but the priests were going to walk across, and she stops and talks to the head priest, and he says, Sir, can you help me get across the river? I got to get across the river. I got to feed my children or whatever. And he goes, yeah, sure, hop on my back. And so the woman hops on his back and he carries her across the river. Meanwhile, the student's going, oh my God, my teacher, he touched a woman. He let a woman touch him. He broke his vow. What did he do? Oh my God, oh my God. And so they cross the river, and the woman says, thank you very much. And the priest says, yeah, no problem. You're welcome. And then the priest and the head priest and the student walk on the hill, keep walking on the path, and the young guy keeps going on. I can't believe it! He broke his vow. He broke his vow just for this silly thing to help the woman across the river. And he keeps thinking about this, and after about an hour, it's bothering him so much he has to say something to his teacher. He says, "Teacher, I can't stand it anymore. I can't believe it. You broke your vow. Why did you do that?" And the teacher looks back at him and says, well, I left her back at the riverside, and you're still carrying her around.
Mm-hmm.
So, I don't know, that's one of the few Zen stories I know.
Well, that kind of thing is important. I mean, many people think about, always worry about, consequences, all kind of thing. But in a way, you cannot, once again, you cannot change your past, or you cannot, really do anything about the future. I mean, you can study about what can happen, but there's possibility.
Right.
There's a statistic there.
Right.
So, in a way, stop worrying, just being there, and then you can find more solutions. Actually, if you worry, I mean, you cannot actually see the thing as what it is anymore.
Right. And I think that the fact that a lot of people have the idea that the world is logical, and I from my experience, the world itself is not logical. Now, logic is a tool that we can use, but, for example, humans, if you actually met a really logical, rational human, the way that we act, but if we just stand there and observe what happens and participate, wonderful things can happen. This is what I learned, because I used to be a drunk and I sobered out and I had a pretty horrible existence at one point. And then when I took the effort to try to change myself, things just happen at the right moment when they need to. Either good or at the moment. Because a lot of times I think that the worst thing that can ever happen to us actually turns out to be the best thing, because sometimes it forces us to do things we wouldn't outside of our comfort zone or whatever. So a lot of that. So some of the ideas I have written down here, we have. So one of the basic ideas of Buddhism, from Buddha himself, was that the idea that life is suffering, and that he was searching for this solution to human suffering. And we also have other notes here of non-permanence, non-judgmentalism, mindfulness. So in the next few minutes, is there anything you'd like to share? Anything else, the last things you want to leave with our...
Well, the thing is like this, if you want to study this type of thing, religion, or, in this case is Buddhism or meditation, you don't need to just study from the religious or spiritual texts.
Okay.
Many people actually kind of do that, and they create this stereotype. Then end up being narrow-minded. I mean, really interesting thing, like, especially in the West, people practicing yoga or meditation, Buddhism, they think that they're liberal. But because that's a stereotype about you practicing yoga or practicing Buddhism, but if they just following the text as the way it is, you're conservative, you're fundamental. So you have to be careful about what you practice. You have to keep your objective point of view on your belief and practicing. That's really an important thing. In a way, in Zen's case, it's like, for instance, practicing religion, developing faith is like building towers. But once you reach high, like a top, you have to smash it. Because, in a way, the tower itself is like your stereotype. You're developing some stereotype. So then you have to smash the tower, make it flat. So learn everything, but you forget everything. So that's the idea. You probably see that one.
I see this also a lot in our modern world, where we have this rapidly accelerating change, that there's this sort of new fundamentalism, and I don't just mean from a religious point of view, but everything. People want, because things are changing so fast, and that we don't really, what used to be solid ground underneath us before is shifting, that a lot of people grasp for this. They want this, like this box that's preformed, that these ideas to explain the world to us, and they become very rigid in the ideas, because this helps me I can grab onto this because I don't understand this the rapidly changing world. So whether it's dogmatic religion or dogmatic politics or dogmatic badminton playing, right. Wow, that's great. So, if people want to contact you, how can they do that?
There's a website. It's www.shunkoin.com.
Shunkoin.com. How could you spell that?
So, SHUNKOIN.com.
Shunkoin.com.
Yeah.
If they just were Googling you and they put, Kyoto, Kyoto...
Then Zen meditation, normally my temple pops up first.
That's the top, okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, okay, that's probably the easiest way. So Zen, Z-E-N, Kyoto, K-Y-O-T-O.
I don't know, because Google changed the algorithm, so I don't know if...
Yeah, but in English language, I don't think that there's a whole lot of stuff in English language.
My place.
Reverend Takafumi Kawakami. And my name is Paul Crouse, and you can contact me on my website at paulcrouse.com. That's C-R-O-U-S-E, or tootallpaul.com. This was a wonderful experience. I want to thank you very much.
Thank you so much for being here.
Thank you very much.
Well, thank you so much.
Take care.
Thank you.
Bye-bye.
We hope you've enjoyed this edition of the Paul Crouse Show on the Star Nations Radio Network.